Today we're answering your questions about when can you use self-defense in a Jeffrey Dahmer-like situation if you're at someone's apartment and things start to get real sketchy real fast. My name's Tom Grieve. Not with me today is Kevin Michalowski, who's at an all-week Great American Easy Oven Bake-Off in Loveland, Colorado. We wish him the best of luck. But before we can dive into that question, just a reminder, we've got a gun giveaway going on right now, but it ends really soon. To find out more, including what firearm can you win, check out the link in the description below. Okay, so you're in Dahmer's apartment. You just had that bubbling drink, which you are immediately regretting. But as you're regretting it, you're feeling yourself lose consciousness. This is not normal alcohol you just consumed. Something is going desperately wrong far too fast. What are you to do? What are your options right then and there? Well, number one, we're assuming that if you voluntarily showed up to the apartment, you have no idea about the fact that that person's a serial killer, all right? Because if you did have that knowledge, that's going to obviously change whether or not you can use deadly force right then and there. Because remember, before you can use deadly force, you have to show why you were in deadly fear. You have to show why that individual was posing a reasonable, imminent fear of death or great bodily harm against you. Or put another way, you have to show before you can use deadly force why there was a deadly threat against you. So if we subtract out the whole serial killer thing, what are you supposed to be doing? And keep in mind, perhaps the best option, particularly if you live in an urban area or something like that, if you can make it out of there, if you can use your cell phone and all that kind of stuff, particularly if you're a stronger individual who can overpower the attacker, okay. Obviously, there's no givens here. That may not be able to work for you, but as a plan A, I can understand why many people would choose that. But if you're in a more rural area, if you don't think that you're gonna be able to overpower the attacker with very bad intentions, and you're not gonna be able to get out of there. So in other words, maybe your only options is to grab your concealed carry weapon and use it, or see what happens on the other side of consciousness. If God willing, you're able to wake up, what are you supposed to do? You decide to pull the trigger. What happens next? Well, first things first, keep in mind that this isn't the movie, so it's not like the bad guy gets shot in the stomach and they immediately just flop over and pass out. In real life, they may have, even with a fatal shot to the heart, anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds, usually about 15 seconds or so, in order to live. So keep in mind, hopefully you've got 15 seconds in you in order to win that initial fight. If you are indeed going to pass out, then you're going to pass out. There's obviously a whole lot that you can't really do at that particular moment in time. Hopefully, though, if you can immediately make that shot, the bad guy goes down, and you know that you're okay, you can grab your cell phone and dial 911. If you can do nothing else, hopefully you're able to do that after immediately making sure that you're safe against that bad guy. And also, of course, we're hoping that there's no more bad guys at that apartment too. Bit of a gamble, but it's all that you can rely on right now. So hopefully you're able to dial 911. But if you wake up on the other side of whatever it is that you consumed, and look, it's now 20 minutes, an hour, 3 hours later, you wake up, there's a gun in your hand, there's a dead Dahmer on the floor. What are you supposed to do next? Number one, you're calling 911. No question about it. You're calling 911 because you're the innocent victim here. You were involuntarily intoxicated. You had to shoot in order to defend yourself right then and there. You had to make a snap judgment decision. So are you going to wind up getting charged with a crime? And if you do, can you go down on homicide charges? Let's return to what we started with before. In order to use deadly force, you have to show why there was a deadly threat against you. So you're going to have to be able to establish the fact that, look, you passing out, this wasn't some sort of scenario where, well, you know, you just had a little bit too much alcohol. You're going to have to be able to show why, no, look, I was drugged. This was going to go in a very wrong direction. Let's state the obvious here again. Cops show up, they open up the freezer, there's a bunch of bodies inside, you're probably going to be in the clear, or at least, God willing, I hope you're going to be in the clear. Shy of something like that, what is this going to mean? Well, number one, if they do take your blood, which will take some time for that to happen, because that's probably not going to be the first thing in the officer's mind. Trust me, they're going to want to make sure that the scene is safe, they're safe, they identify who everyone is, what's going on here, all that kind of stuff. The importance of this is we don't know how much time lapsed right away, but a lot of times these date rape drugs can pass through your system very, very quickly, sometimes just in a matter of a handful of hours. So there's a very reasonable chance, and I would not be surprised that if you did get a blood draw 10, 12 hours later, whatever the case may be, and I would not be surprised if they didn't do one at all. But if they did do one, I would not be surprised if there were no trace aspects or no trace evidence of the fact of, look, I had whatever it was that was on board, flunitrazepam, which is a Rufalin in essence, okay? That can pass through your bloodstream very, very quickly. Hopefully, if they drugged you, they have a supply around the house. So they can, police can locate what's going on here. So it's going to be important for you to identify the fact of, look, I think I was drugged. I had this drink. It was fizzing. I had this. Mere moments later, I started feeling this way. Hopefully that will cue the police in order to start looking around for evidence of date rape drugs or things that could be used as date rape drugs. So that's going to be tremendously important right there in the scene in order to have them go ahead and go on the hunt for that evidence, which may be crucial later on. Again, if they open up the freezer and there's a whole bunch of bodies there, we're in a reasonably safe scenario, God willing. But shy of something like that, we're gonna have a very different case. The prosecutor against you, in order to convict you of homicide, may have to overcome a self-defense case where they're gonna have to show beyond a reasonable doubt, if you are able to raise and establish self-defense, they have to be able to show beyond a reasonable doubt that you were not in reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily harm, or however your particular state formulates self-defense language. Again, check your local listings. That's gonna vary with place and time. But that's going to be it. That's what this case is really going to come down to. You're passing out. Is that a deadly threat against you? And it's really going to come down to, of course, that individual, but it's also going to come down to establishing the kind of fear, the kind of motivation and intentions of somebody who would basically do this to you, who would trap you in their home, their apartment, whatever the case may be, and why are they doing this and what's going to come next, and the fact that, nope, that constitutes a deadly threat. This is something where you're going to have to obviously have a very strong defense attorney. This is something where you may have to involve the use of experts in order to discuss the trauma, in order to discuss what's going on as far as the interplay between your neuroanatomy, your brain, as well as whatever particular drug they either find or maybe are able to test along with finding in the apartment. They test out of your blood. So there's going to be all these different things coming together to have to create that moment to put the jury, if God forbid you are charged, to be able to put the jury in your shoes to show that, look, didn't want to be here. They didn't know it was in the drink. This wasn't the night they were trying to have at all. This was the night that the bad guy chose. This is the night that they chose when they brought him back, when he selected the target. This is the night that the bad guy chose when they mixed the drink. And at the end of the day, this created a deadly threat against you. That's what the case is going to boil down to. So guys, there's an effort at making kind of a short and somewhat interesting answer to that question. If you got other questions about Dahmer, let us know. We'd love to hear it in the comment section. We'd love to be able to get to them if you have them. Guys, don't forget to, of course, subscribe, like to the channel. And as a message to you, Kevin, out there, yes, we got your text from your iPhone 4 about the 100-watt light bulbs. We are sending them, so you should get those soon. Guys, we'll see you in the next one.
Do you carry with a round in the chamber? Because if you don't, you need to watch this video right next to me because it's dangerous not to, and I'll explain why. Yes, you should carry with one in the chamber.